Good day, everyone, especially to you, Sir Novi Carlo Nasibog. My name is CHRISEL APAO from BPA 4A. I'm from Group 3. The first reporter is Mr. Angelo Magali, and I am the second reporter. So now we will continue learning on the topic about the birth of party and electoral politics. The Federalistas reinvent themselves. In 1907, the Federal Party in the Philippines changed its platform from annexation to gradual independence under American sovereignty. The party changed its name to Partido Nacional Progresista or National Progressive Party, and the Federal Party that advocated statehood was forgotten. With the relaxation of the anti-sedition law, partisan and pro-independence groups re-emerged, divided into those advocating immediate independence without foreign aid and those for early or eventual independence with foreign assistance. The merger of the two political groups gave birth to the Partido Nacionalista or Nationalist Party, which became the dominant champion of the Philippine independence. The appointment of governors to political offices also changed, the further marginalizing the Progresistas. The advent of two-party politics, Philippine style. In the July 1907 elections, the Nationalist Party won 59 seats with the strongest support coming from Manila and Cebu. Osmeña became the speaker during the first Philippine Assembly. The two-party system emerged with the Nationalist Party leading significantly. The Progressive Party revised its electoral platform from advocating annexation to pushing for independence. However, cracks within the Nationalist Party began in 1912, leading to Teodoro Sandico's departure and the establishment of the Terceristas, a third party. The Terceristas received only 2 seats in the 1916 elections, while the Nationalist Party claimed a significant victory by gaining 75 seats. In 1916, the first Philippine Senate was elected, mandated by the Jones Law, which led to eventual independence. The Nationalist Party demonstrated impressive results with all but one of the 22 Senate seats occupied by Nacionalistas. The National Democratic and Progressive Parties formed the Fusion Party, Partido Demokrata, in 1917. The party aimed to ensure democratic fair play and increase public participation in public affairs. In 1919, the Democratic Party was defeated, and Nationalist Party dominated the country's politics. However, divisions among the Nacionalista leadership began to show in the early 1920s. Osmeña sought endorsement from the party convention to continue directing government policies, while Quezon opposed it, arguing it was undemocratic. This led to the formation of the Partido Nacionalista to Collectivista or Nationalist Collectivist Party in 1922. Quezon proclaimed loyalty to his party ends where loyalty to his country begins, causing a quarrel within the Nationalist Party between collectivistas and impersonalistas. In 1922, the Philippines held a unique three-party contest between the nationalist to collectivist, and democratic parties. Both Osmeña and Quezon won Senate seats, but the Democratas gained many seats but not enough to make a majority. The collectivistas had a small majority in the Senate and a plurality in the House. This led to alliances and coalition in both houses of the legislature, and the establishment of a coalition within the executive cabinet. The end of opposition parties and the rise of the hegemonic parties. In the late 1920s, the system of majority party led government led to the dominance of the consolidated nationalist party under Quezon and Osmeña, which spelled the demise of the Democratic Party. The Nationalist Party won the election of 1931, and the Nacionalistas continued to exercise their hegemony over the executive branch through the cabinet. The dissolution of the Democratic Party in 1932 led to the bifurcation of the single dominant party, with former Democratas joining the ranks of the Nacionalistas. The issue of party and government leadership was gain raised within the Nationalist Party in the early 1930s, with the Hare Harvest Cutting or HHC bill, establishing a blueprint for the eventual granting of independence to the Philippines. Quezon opposed the HHC bill and advocated for its rejection by the Senate, leading to the Tidings-McDuffie or TM Act of 1934. This electoral victory assured Quezon of the Senate presidency once again. The 1935 Constitutional Convention in the Philippines was held on July 10, 1934, with only 40% of qualified voters casting their ballots. The convention was composed of men from diverse backgrounds, including lawyers, businessmen, financiers, jurists, educators, and politicians. The initial draft of the Constitution provided for a unicameral legislature, but many delegates were lawyers. The convention was led by Senator Claro Recto, who was heavily influenced by Quezon, who was associated with the Antis. One issue raised was women's suffrage, which had been denied since Spanish times. Critics argued that voting would destroy the Filipino home and vice, while advocates argued that women were half of humanity and played important social functions outside the household. A compromise solution was a plebiscite by April 1937, where over half a million women registered for the referendum. The 1935 Philippine Constitution was signed by President Roosevelt and ratified by over a million votes. The first Commonwealth election was held in September, with Quezon as president and Osmeña as vice president. The Nationalist Party was the only major contender, and Quezon won with 695,546 votes. The legislature had a single-chamber assembly with no more than 120 seats. The opposition parties were defeated in November 1941, with reasons including a lack of unified leadership, inability to present a constructive program, conflict, and acceptance of only Quezon or Osmeña for leadership. Quezon served his second term from November 1941 to November 1943. The end of party politics and the beginning of partyless democracy. After the amendments were ratified, President Quezon declared in 1940 that the country must abandon the theory that democracy cannot function without political parties, leading to a period of partyless democracy. He denounced political parties as harmful evils of democratic government, arguing that party spirit weakens the government and makes it incapable of facing difficult situations. This rejection of limitations on power has been a key founding principle of Philippine party politics. Party politics in the pre-war legislature. Following the Jones Law of 1916, the Philippine Assembly became the Senate with elected members. The House Speaker was Osmeña until 1922 and Quezon became Senate President. The Nacionalista to dominated legislature had vast powers including appointing committee, chairmen, controlling funds, and requiring government services. The opposition Democratic Party had little influence in the legislature, but often charged nationalistas with abandoning the immediatista stand and accepting the Jones Law. The Philippine Assembly and Senate were dominated by the Nationalist Party, led by prominent members like Quezon and Osmeña. The roots of party politics, power, and patronage. The Philippines was a predominantly populated country before the arrival of the Americans and the establishment of democratic electoral political institutions. The country was dominated by two constellations of families whose rivalry for social prominence had political overtones during Spanish rule. Party affiliation was based on blood, friendship, regionalism, and personal experiences. Under the Americans, suffrage was extended and broadened, reducing voter qualifications and increasing the number of public offices subject to electoral competition. Provincial governors were elected as early as 1903, and legislative seats became elective in 1907. The lack of ideological differences between parties became more pronounced by the 1930s as parties that were out of power were vulnerable to disintegration. Political parties in the pre-war Philippines were led by wealthy local elites, consolidating their power through the formation of national party organizations, such as the Nationalist Party.